Greetings, Magic players. This is Steve from Untapped Games, and today we're going to open an Elspeth versus Kiora duel deck. So this is the latest duel deck, comes out today, and we're going to see what's inside. I haven't taken a glance at the deck list. It looks like a white weenie deck, sort of, versus Kiora's deck, which is more control into big creatures. And so the deck's, the box's contents, I've got a rules reference card right here. I have an insert that describes both of the decks. And I've got some pretty cool Elspeth and Kiora art on here. And so that explains the decks and it gives me the deck lists. Oh, more cool art. Alright. I have a box for each of the decks. Here's the Kiora one. And here are the decks themselves. So they're designed to be played against each other. Neither is tournament legal for standard, but there's a lot of cool reprints in here. And one of the main draws here is I have these foil alternate art Planeswalkers. This one is Elspeth's Sun's Champion, 4 and 2 white for an Elspeth Planeswalker. Its +1 ability is put 3/1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. For -3, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. And -7, you get an emblem with creatures you control get +2/+2 and have flying, and it starts at 4 loyalty. On Kiora's side, Kiora the Crashing Wave, 2 a green and a blue for Kiora Planeswalker, +1 until your next turn. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt by target permanent an opponent controls. Its -1 ability is draw a card. You may play an additional land this turn. And its -5 ability is you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your end step, put a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token onto the battlefield. It starts off at 2 loyalty. So just based on the Planeswalkers, Kiora is not as good as Elspeth. So we're looking for the Kiora deck to be running stuff that can actually prevent this Planeswalker from perishing to a 2/1 creature, because right now its +1 ability will rope just 1 creature attacking it, but it still doesn't defend itself quite as well as Elspeth does, because she's cranking out 1/1 creature tokens, so she can kind of sit there and increase in loyalty, get up to that -7 ability, whereas Kiora needs help. Alright, so I'm going to look at Elspeth's deck first. So on her side, I'm guessing I'm going to be seeing a lot of creatures that are low casting cost, that have abilities that add up to, that basically like teamwork, small teamwork creatures. Precinct Captain is one of those. So it is a 2-drop, 2 white for a human soldier with first strike. That's 2/2. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 white soldier creature token onto the battlefield. Great card. Gustcloak Savior, 4 and a white for a 3/4 flyer. And it's a bird soldier. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may untap that creature and remove it from combat. Captain of the Watch, 4 and 2 white for a 3/3 vigilance human soldier. Human soldier with vigilance, rather. Other soldier creatures you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. When Captain of the Watch enters the battlefield, put 3/1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. So far, we've had a few creatures that are actually on the higher end of the curve. Dictate of Heliod, 3 and 2 white for an enchantment with flash. Creatures you control get +2/+2. Good anthem effect right there. Decree of Justice, XX, 2 and 2 white for a sorcery. Put X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. It cycles for 2 and a white, which means that if you pay 2 and a white, you can discard it and draw a card. So if it's not useful to you, you can always turn it into a card draw. When you cycle Decree of Justice, you may pay X. If you do, put X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. So even when it cycles, you get value out of it still. Icadian Javelineers, 1 white for a human soldier. It enters the battlefield with a javelin counter on it. So tap it to remove a javelin counter from Icadian Javelineers. Icadian Javelineers deals 1 damage to target creature or player, and it's a 1/1. So it's basically like a Tim that you can use once. And I have 2 of those. I have Mother of Runes with some awesome new art. I much prefer this art to the old Mother of Runes. Kind of looked like a soccer mom with a coffee cup in the old one, and now she actually has more. She has hieroglyphics in the background, so it ties back to the actual purpose of the card. So she is a human cleric, 1/1. Tap her to give target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn. So great card. Kinsbale Skirmisher, 1 and a white. It's a Kithkin soldier. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it's a 2/2 creature. Another one of those. Core Skyfisher, 1 and 1 white for a flying core soldier. When Core Skyfisher enters the battlefield, return a permanent you control to its owner's hand, and it's a 2/3. Veteran Armorsmith, 2 white. So now we're getting more into the lower cost creatures. A lot of 2-drops and 1-drops. Other soldier creatures you control get +0/+1, and it's a 2/3. I have another one of those. Court Street Denizen for 2 and a white. A human soldier that's 2/2. Whenever another white creature enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature an opponent controls. Standing Troops, 2 and a white for a human soldier that's 1/4 and it's Vigilance. So I got a good blocker there for relatively low cost. Veteran Swordsmith, 2 and a white for a 3/2. When other soldier creatures you control, creatures you control get +1/+0. So the Swordsmith is sort of the offensive version of the Armorsmith, and I have 2 of those. Great utility in Banisher Priest for 1 and 2 white. When Banisher Priest enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent controls until Banisher Priest until Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield, and that's a 2/2. So it's basically like a walking Oblivion Ring. Gustcloak Harrier, 1 and 2 white for a bird soldier that's 2/2. Flying, whenever Gustcloak Harrier becomes blocked, you may untap it and remove it from combat. So I have some cool combat tricks as just static abilities on my creatures here. Alright, so I got 3 of those. Gustcloak Sentinel. Oh, sorry. I missed the Skirmisher. Gustcloak Skirmisher for 3 and a white. Flying, whenever Gustcloak Skirmisher becomes blocked, you may untap it and remove it from combat. So I got really confused. This is basically a 2/3 version of the card that we just looked at, and it costs slightly different. Instead of 1 and 2 white, it costs 3 and 1 white. So that's interesting. And then Gustcloak Sentinel. So same kind of deal. It's just a different cost and different power toughness. So for 2 and 2 white, we get a human soldier that's 3/3. It doesn't have flying, but whenever Gustcloak Sentinel becomes blocked, you may untap it and remove it from combat. So Loxodon Partisan, 4 and a white. Battle Cry, whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and it's a 3/4. Yeah, the great thing about all those Gustcloak things is you can just attack with them all day. And as long as your opponent doesn't have tricks that kill attacking creatures, that means that you can save the ones that get blocked, and then the ones that don't get blocked get through. So, man, that is scary. Loxodon Partisan for 4 and a white. You have another Battle Cry creature. When it attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0, and it's a 3/4 Elephant Soldier. Gempalm Avenger, 5 and a white. It has cycling for 2 and a white, and when you cycle Gempalm Avenger, soldier creatures get +1/+1 and gain first strike until end of turn, and it's a 3/5. So it's a great combat trick for a cycling card, and if you really need a creature, you have a expensive 3/5 creature there. So that's a really good card. Noble Templar, 5 and a white, another good cycling card. It's a 3/6 with Vigilance, or you can play and cycle it for 2. So if you draw this early game, then it's going to help even your mana out and make sure that you're getting those land draws. Other than that, if you draw it late game, then you have a 3/6 Vigilance as long as you have the mana to pay for it. We have 2 Secluded Steps. It enters the battlefield tapped. Tapped, add a white to your mana pool, or you can cycle it for 1 white mana. So those are great. When you don't need the mana, you can cycle it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 planes. So I have a pretty vanilla land pool here, with the exception of the Secluded Steps. I have Mortal's Ardor. It's a 1 white instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains lifelink until end of turn. Sunlance, a 1 white sorcery. Sunlance deals 3 damage to a target non-white creature. I have 2 of those. Mighty Leap, 1 and a white. For a instant, target creature gets +2/+2 and gains flying until end of turn. Raise the Alarm, 1 and a white. For put 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield, and that's an instant. I have 2 of those. Soul Parry, 1 and a white. Instant, prevent all damage 1 or 2 target creatures would deal this turn. Celestial Flare, 2 white. Target player sacrifices an attacking or blocking creature. Dauntless Onslaught, 2 and a white. Up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 until end of turn. And I have 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. So that was the Elspeth deck. As you can see, it's fairly aggressive. It focuses on 1/1 white creatures that get buffed up by other supporting creatures, and then we have a few high-costed creatures in there as well that close the game out for us. And of course, Elspeth is the central feature of that deck because she can pump out soldier creature tokens for essentially free. Now we're going to look at Kiora's deck. Now Kiora is going to have a probably, I'm guessing, less aggressive strategy, if I had to guess. But she's going to be finishing out the game with big creatures, big krakens and leviathans and things like that. Alright, so the first of such is Scourge of Fleets, 5 and 2 blue. For a 6/6 kraken, when it enters the battlefield, return each creature your opponent controls with toughness X or less to its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control. Scary. Simic Sky Swallower, 5 green and a blue. For a 6/6 Leviathan with flying, trample, and shroud. Shroud works like hexproof, but even you cannot target a creature with shroud. Even if it's your creature, that is. Inkwell Leviathan, 7 and 2 blue. For a artifact creature Leviathan, it has trample and island walk, and it's 7/11. So lots of toughness, lots of power, but you're going to be paying for it because it comes out for 9. Whelming Wave, 2 and 2 blue. Return all creatures to their owner's hands except for krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents. Guess what this deck has a lot of? Plasm Capture, 2 green, 2 blue. For an instant, counter target spell at the beginning of your next pre-combat main phase, add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool where X is that spell's converted mana cost. Omen Speaker, 1 and a blue. When Omen Speaker enters the battlefield, scry 2, and it's a 1/3 human wizard. Coiling Oracle, green and a blue. Creature, Snake Elf Druid, it's a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put that card into your hand. So the lower cost creatures in this deck, like Omen Speaker and Coiling Oracle, which I have 2 of, are really meant to help me get up to my big creatures. So with Omen Speaker, you see I'm lining up a draw with Scry, and with Coiling Oracle, I'm drawing a card. Basically, I'm also doing a different version of scrying, but it's not quite. It's like scry draw, but if it's a land card, you can put it right out into the battlefield, which is even better than drawing it. Kiora's Follower, a green and a blue. For a Merfolk 2/2, tap it to untap another target permanent. So that's basically ramp, but it's even better than ramp. Grazing Gladeheart, 2 and a green. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain 2 life, and that's a 2/2. So this is meant to cover up for the loss of life that we might have in the beginning of the game against aggro decks, like Elspeth. Netcaster Spider, 2 and a green. Reach, 2/3. Whenever it blocks a creature with flying, Netcaster Spider gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I have 2 of those. Mana War, 2 and a blue. For a 2/2 Jellyfish, when Mana War enters the battlefield, return target creature to its owner's hand, and I have 2 of those. Lore Scale Coatl, it's 1, a green, and a blue. It's a 2/2 snake. Whenever you draw a card, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Lore Scale Coatl. So this can get quite large. I have 2 of those. Neshin Asp, 4 and a green rather. For a 4/5 snake, it has Reach and Monstrosity. For 6 and a green, Monstrosity 4, so that's putting 4 +1/+1 counters on it, and it's a one-time only deal. Surakar Banisher, 4 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target tap creature to its owner's hand, and it's a 3/3. So a lot of these cards are for roping your opponent. 3 and 2 blue, Sealock Monster. It's an octopus. Sealock Monster can't attack until its defending player controls an island. There's going to be ways to give them islands in this deck. 5 and 2 blue, Monstrosity 3, so I can put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. And when it becomes monstrous, target land becomes an island in addition to its others type. So there you go. There's one way. There's going to be others to turn things into islands. Nimbus Swimmer, X, a green and a blue. For a Leviathan, it starts off as 0/0. It has flying. And when it enters the battlefield, you put X +1/+1 counters on it. So it's like a Hydra a little bit. Evolving Wild, a land card. Tap, sacrifice it, search your library for basic land card, and put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So the problem with this is you can't search for things like shock lands because they're not basic lands. So it constrains you to one of the 5. So it's only going to get me islands or forests in this. Temple of the False God. Tap, add 2 to your mana pool, activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands. So that'll be an accelerator. Hopefully I want to draw that later in the game. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 forests. They look to be mostly Lorwyn art. No, not Lorwyn art. Sorry, that's Theros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Islands, also mostly Theros art. Explorer, 1 and a green. You may play an additional land this turn, draw a card, and that's a sorcery. Another one of them. Accumulated Knowledge, 1 and a blue, draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Accumulated Knowledge in all graveyards. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Appeal from Reality, 1 and a blue. Return target creature you control and target creature you don't control to their owner's hands. Time to Feed, 2 and a green. Choose target creature an opponent controls. When that creature dies this turn, you gain 3 life. Target creature you control fights that creature. 2 of those. Explosive Vegetation. That's 3 and a green. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them into the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. So that's some ramp. Aetherize, 3 and a blue. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. So that is great. So I was wrong, just dead wrong, about there being another way to get islands in this deck. I might have been thinking about another thing, but Urban Evolution, 3, a green and a blue. For a sorcery, draw 3 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. And then I have 2 9/9 Kraken tokens to go with Kiora. Who I haven't even... Did I read Kiora? No, I didn't. I don't think so. Yes, I did. Sorry. So yeah, this deck, the green side of this deck focuses around ramp and sort of covering up your early game losses because this is kind of a slower deck. And then the blue side is roping your opponent so that they can't do much. And then they kind of both come together because both green and blue towards their end game have large creatures, and so that's the common theme of this deck, whether I'm getting Leviathans in play or whether I'm getting like large like this Leviathan is, I guess, both green and blue, but or whether I'm getting really pumped up that snake, the coatl there, or the asp, you know. So my high-end creatures are getting paved the way for by smaller ramping creatures, and so yeah, I'm not sure which I would choose between these two decks. I tend to like decks that focus on a mid-range theme. This one kind of has that a little bit, the Kiora deck. So that would be kind of fun. If you prefer aggro decks, then Elspeth's deck is definitely for you because it puts out a lot of small threats that all add up quickly, versus Kiora, which is, I mean, it has a version of mid-range in that whelming wave, because that can clear the board of attacking creatures. So really punishes people who are aggressive. So this deck and this deck are fairly well matched in that perspective. I hope you guys enjoyed that opening. So we are actually holding a contest this month. It's going to run into March though, because this came out towards the end of this month. We didn't have another big Magic release. So yeah, tell me which of these two decks you would like to play. Or if you don't play Magic, tell me whether you prefer aggressive decks or decks that focus on responding to aggressive decks. Let me know that in the comments, or you can also let me know on Facebook, and there will be more ways to enter in the description to this video. The two winners of this contest, which we'll choose from amongst the people who like the Facebook post, who comment on the Facebook post, and who comment in this video, and that the directions will be down in the comments, or down in the description, will win a half a booster box of Fate Reforged, which is the new set. So yeah, let me know. Good luck in the contest, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Take care. See you next time.